The city of dreams, or the city that never sleeps, the Big Apple, Gotham, the Empire State, or whatever you name it, New York City has never been called dull. Yeah, there's still so much to do here. Tired of your daily routine? Then it's time to get away. The world is too big to leave unexplored, and SB Travels is here to help you see the world with your own two eyes. Today, we'll be talking about the most underrated things you must do in New York City. But before we proceed, make sure you subscribe to the channel and smash the bell icon. Already done it? Great! So let's get started. Whether you're here for the first time or the 50th, or even if you live in New York City, there's so much more to see and do. As in, with so many alternatives available to both tourists and local New Yorkers, it's easy to miss gems hidden in plain sight, as well as weird and unusual New York City oddities. But that's the beauty of it. And to tell you the truth, we've got a lot of them. These under-the-radar attractions range from overlooked parks to quirky museums. New York has many historic sites that don't make the best of lists, yet they're well worth a visit. You might be astonished to learn that you've never heard of some of these attractions. So join us on a tour of some of the most underrated attractions in New York City to be in the know and decide for yourself if it needs to be on your must-do list. Getting started with the Cloisters. You can't claim you visited New York City without paying a visit to see the groundbreaking exhibits at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but considerably fewer tourists make the trek up to Washington Heights to see the museum's second wing, known as the Cloisters. And skipping it would be a huge mistake. Sequestered on a tree-covered hill in Fort Tryon Park, it's a collection of abbeys and chapels disassembled stone by stone from Spain and France and rebuilt into a cohesive complex featuring around 5,000 pieces of medieval European art and architecture. Among its many treasures are unicorn tapestries, stained glass windows, hand-drawn manuscripts, and a magnificent central garden. The views from the tower are likewise impressive. John D. Rockefeller Jr. purchased a part of the New Jersey Palisades to preserve the vista. Moving on to Panorama of the City of New York. Let's get real. With so many fantastic things to do and places to visit in the Big Apple, it's impossible to see everything, no matter how much free time you've got. Fortunately, this panorama makes tackling Gotham a bit simpler. And why? Because it incorporates all of the boroughs into a single space. But don't expect to see a miniature here. The panorama of the City of New York spans an astonishingly large 9,335 square feet, providing for exquisite detail that eagle-eyed visitors can discover. Peering down, you'll feel like Google Earth spotting your favorite coffee shop. Coming to the Greenwood Cemetery. Walking amid gravestones, as morbid as it may sound, is one of the most underrated and fascinating things to do in this city. We're talking about the Greenwood Cemetery, a historic site that was the place to be buried, particularly in the 19th and 20th centuries. Its 478 acres in the heart of Brooklyn are the final resting place for nearly 600,000 souls, including some well-known ones: inventor Samuel Morse, composer Leonard Bernstein, toy founder F.A.O. Schwartz, piano manufacturer Henry Steinway, and artiste Jean-Michel Basquiat, just to name a few. A guided tour can point out these sites as you walk through the park's ponds, gardens, and statues, the landscape that inspired Central Park. Another underrated attraction on the list is the Woolworth Building. Designed by Cass Gilbert and built in 1913, the Woolworth Building was formerly the world's tallest and was known for its Gothic Revival facade and magnificent lobby. Unfortunately, only the privileged citizens could enjoy its splendor, as others were not permitted. The lobby remains closed to the public, but the architecture and history enthusiasts can sign up for a visit. If you're a film fan, you might also recognize this location from several flicks, including Singin' in the Rain, The Great Gatsby, and Fantastic Beasts. Let's now check out the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Though not as well renowned as its Bronx counterpart, the Brooklyn Botanic Garden is nonetheless worth a visit. The 52-acre green space, which opened in 1910, features everything from wildflowers in a native flora garden to sacred lotuses in the lily pools. Come in the spring for the perennially popular Sakura Matsuri Festival, which celebrates the cherry blossoms and all things Japanese. Or simply enjoy the tranquil Japanese hill and pond garden, the first public garden in the United States inspired by that island nation. Time to peep into the Socrates Sculpture Park. This 4.5-acre city park was built over an abandoned landfill by artists and activists in 1986. It now offers large-scale sculpture displays all year and is one of the city's few areas especially allocated for artists to produce outdoor works. The magnificent Queen Space, which overlooks the Manhattan skyline, is accessible 365 days a year and features a green market, free yoga and Tai Chi lessons, outdoor movie screenings, and more. Getting towards the snug Harbor Cultural Center. This former home for retired sailors, located just a ferry ride away from the hustle and bustle of Manhattan, is still somewhat of a hidden gem. The 83-acre property has a massive botanical garden and cultural center flanked by cobblestone walkways and Victorian and Tudor homes. The Chinese Scholars Garden is one of the most popular sites here, with spectacular rocks shaped like mountains inspired by the poetry and art of Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist monks, as well as a bamboo forest path and koi pond. Let's now take a look at the City Reliquary Museum. This eccentric institution houses all kinds of New York City memorabilia, from old postcards featuring the Statue of Liberty to a vintage subway turnstile, as well as permanent exhibits on the history of burlesque in New York City and the 1939 World's Fair. The museum is also an active presence in the community, organizing special events and fundraisers. Getting to the Museum of the Moving Image. It's only natural that a city so well represented in film and TV would have its own museum dedicated to the industry. Cinephiles will enjoy a day at Astoria's Museum of the Moving Image, where they can watch classic films in a state-of-the-art theater, play 14 retro arcade games, and examine props and artifacts from real-life film sets. The Jim Henson exhibit, the latest edition, has more than 47 puppets from The Muppet Show, as well as loads of archival footage. The last interesting entry on today's list is Spyscape. Part museum, part spy training ground, Spyscape provides aspiring intelligence agents with the opportunity to test their mettle. First, visitors can learn about real-life spies like Alan Turing, the mathematician who cracked the Enigma code, and Virginia Hall, the one-legged operative who assisted escaped POWs travel to safety during World War II. Then it's time for your assessment. After sneaking through a corridor speckled with laser beams, submitting to a lie detector test, and testing all kinds of other Bond-style talents, the museum grades your performance using a profile system designed by a former British intelligence officer. Interesting, isn't it? Moreover, an honorable mention for underrated attractions in New York City has to go to Times Square, and the theater district as well. This global crossroads has earned a bad rap lately, yet it's still a hive of electric activity and excitement. However, no matter what you decide to do in New York City, you are bound to have a great time and discover new things. Well, there you have it for today's video. So, what's your take on these underrated attractions in New York City? And which one would you like to visit on your next vacation? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video too. Be with SB Travels and never stop exploring by subscribing to our channel and turning on the notifications as well. Time to say goodbye. Take care, folks.